Hi, I'm Andy from Source Distribution with Moog Pedals, here in sunny Brighton with GAK, and I'd like to take you through the new line of Moog Minifooger pedals. So the Minifoogers are kind of an evolution from the Mooger pedals that have been around for a number of years. Now the Mooger were kind of a complete departure from any other pedals that are on the market. Kind of completely analog, loads of character, and give you absolutely bonkers sounds. So they're great for keyboard players, bass players, and also guitarists. One of the practical issues with the Mooger was their size. They weren't exactly pedalboard friendly. So enter the Minifoogers. What we've got is a range of stomp boxes that will kind of fit on any pedalboard but still maintain the character and the essence of the bigger brothers. So what we've got is 100% analog circuitry. They all come from the same stable as the Moog synthesizers, so they're all hand built in Asheville, North Carolina. And they kind of really tap into the legacy of what Moog is all about. So there's a number of pedals that include filters that you would see in some of the larger synthesizers. The same kind of ethos in terms of the way that the LFOs oscillate and how you can get the pedals to really go into self-oscillation and give you some incredible sounds. So let's take a look. First up, we've got the MF Boost, which is a really understated pedal. Doesn't quite get the kind of recognition that it maybe deserves. Boost pedals are amazing for a number of different reasons. We can use them as a clean solo boost, or we can set them in a way to accentuate a certain character of a guitar or an amplifier. So if we have a listen to the clean amp, and then we engage the boost, so what it can give you is just kind of a slight increase in width, adds a plumminess to the guitar, also adds a little bit of sustain. Under the fingers you kind of just get a feeling that you can kind of hold on to notes a little bit more. If you increase the gain, we can start to then push the amp and start to make it drive a little bit more. As with all the Minifoogers, they will accept an expression pedal. So in this case, the Moog EP3 can be connected, and we can then use the boost as a volume pedal, and it'll also give us an extra 7 dB of boost. So great for solo boosts, but kind of a really nice pedal just to kind of keep on in the front of the amp to kind of give you maybe a slightly darker tone. Or if you want to accentuate it, really kind of make notes pop out. Moving on to the MF Drive. Now the MF Drive is, again, 100% analog, but there's got a few tricks hidden up its sleeve. The character of this pedal is quite dark, so it's great for those kind of Kyuss-y, Queens of the Stone Age kind of big doomy riffs. So if we go through the settings on the pedal, we've got a gain control, which adjusts the amount of saturation into the circuit. We've got an output, obviously for level matching. The tone control is really interesting because it'll take us from kind of straight up position, is more of a kind of mid boost forward British kind of sound. As we start to reduce it, you'll get this kind of mid scoop, more of an American kind of thing. Great for kind of chuggy chords. And as we start to push it forward, we engage a high pass filter which starts to roll off some of the low end. There is an extra drive circuit that we can kick in, so we can increase the gain structure. And finally, we've got this peak switch. Now, the peak switch is linked to this ladder filter. Now, the ladder filter is synonymous with a number of Moog synthesizers, including the Mini Moog Voyager. So, in its straight up state, the filter will allow us to roll off the high end and kind of increase the bass response of the pedal. When we engage the peak, we get a boost of about 15 dB at the filter cutoff frequency, which gives us some kind of really squawky, kind of nasal, dirty tones. we can engage the we can engage the EP3 pedal, and we can have a half-cocked wah sound, or we can have a pseudo wah with fuzz. So let's have a listen. So the settings at the moment are just for a little bit of boost with a bit of drive. And then as I bring the filter up, we'll kind of increase the amount of high end that's available in the pedal. As we increase again. And if we kick the extra gain stage in, we'll kind of start to get in really filthy territory. With the tone control, if we start to pull that back, it'll tighten the low end, scoops from the mids. Give it a little bit more gain, we'll get into even more saturation. And if I engage the EP3, so the Moog drive, loads and loads of versatility there. Great drive pedal, but something kind of hidden with that filter. So moving on to the MF Trem, which essentially it's Tarantino in a box. It's that kind of great old school dark Trem sound. So the controls on the Trem, we've got a shape control, which kind of set in its center position will give us kind of an even rise and fall. As we start to move it to the left, we'll get a kind of hard initial transient, and then the waveform will kind of fall away. Kind of start to get pseudo kind of rotor vibe sounds. You kind of start to get a little bit of a Leslie thing happening. As you start to move it to the right, we get a kind of a smooth transient, and then a kind of a sharp kind of decay. As you start to increase the level of a lot of these controls, and this goes for all of the Minifoogers, you start to get these analog circuits to self-oscillate. Once you start pairing these with delays and reverbs, you get into some really interesting territory. Again, we can introduce the EP3, and with this pedal, it's tied to our speed control. So what we can do is start off nice and slow, and then as we increase the pedal, we can increase that speed and ramp it up. So again, we can kind of create pseudo Leslie effects, the effect of the horn kind of speeding up and slowing down. Again, much more than just a tremolo. The MF Chorus is one of the newer pedals in the Minifooger line. What this gives us are basic chorus effects, Leslie's, flanger. even slapback delays. With this being an analog circuit, it behaves in very much the same way that analog tape machines would, and a lot of kind of older choral flanges would behave. So again, we can get it to self-oscillate, we can kind of have a straight up classic analog chorus, but we can go pretty extreme with it. So the rate control adjusts the rate of the LFO, which modulates the delay that's in the chorus. Next along is the ring modulator. Now the ring mod is based on the MF102 from the Moog Minifooger line. That kind of sound was made famous by the BBC Radiophonic Workshop for the Dalek voices way back when. This ring modulator, very straightforward to use. We've got tone control, which affects purely the wet signal. We've got a mix control, which controls how much dry or wet signal we've got. And then this frequency knob here allows us to kind of zero in on our root note, if you like. And then we can almost use it as kind of a pseudo octave. And we can increase the mix, get more of the wet signal. We increase the tone so we can bring out specific parts of the kind of the key center we're in. Go all the way wet so we can get kind of a completely synthesized tone. As we start to increase the frequency, we go a little bit higher, and then if we combine that with the drive pedal, we can get some kind of pseudo kind of octafuzz. Bring that down. Again, the ring modulator can be controlled by the EP3. So when we add the EP3 into the mix, we've got control over the frequency. So we can start off. Finally, we've got the MF delay. Again, 100% analog with a Bucket Brigade chip in there. And the inherent character of this is, again, nice dark delay. Kind of create some flanging effects. And if we start to increase the amount of feedback, the amount of mix, fantastic slapback effect. If we increase it, the time even further, the definition starts to soften, so we get much more of a dreamy kind of reverb and delay. We've also got a drive built in, so we can kind of use it for two things. Sometimes when you kick in a delay, you might find that the level drops slightly, so we can use it as a makeup gain almost. And that drive kind of comes before the delay, so all your repeats kind of get saturated as well, so you get this kind of real degradation. If you increase the drive, we start to really saturate the circuit. If we start to reach the limits of the pedal, we increase the mix, start increasing the feedback. Again, loads of fun you can have with that. We can tie the EP3 to the time, so we can increase the delay time of the pedal, or internally there's a dip switch that allows us to change that to the feedback. Like I was saying, if you start to add some of the pedals together, you can get some outrageous sounds. So that was the range of Minifooger pedals by Moog. If you've got any further questions, feel free to give any of the guys at GAK a call or go on to gak.co.uk. Cheers.